Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is The Surge Effect, and I'm your host, Mike Surge. This podcast will be talking about anything and everything, life in general to current events and past events, and all things about this beautiful and wonderful world that we live in. And this podcast, well, it'll probably have an effect on you. Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of The Surge Effect. First off, I would like to thank the people that have subscribed to my channel over the last week or so. Much appreciated, and obviously it tells me that you're interested in a little bit of political stuff and stuff that I've been posting. Not all political, but a lot of it is political, and that's great. Just like to give a big shout out to all you people that have subscribed to my channel. Much appreciated. I also want to give a shout out to He Shirts, She Shirts. Of course, it's been sponsored by, this episode's been sponsored by He Shirts, She Shirts. All my episodes are sponsored by He Shirts, She Shirts. And link to their website is in the description below. Today's sponsor is Love My Legs, Owen Sound, Grey Bruce. I will also leave a link in the description below as well, that you can find them on Facebook. And Love My Legs, Owen Sound, Grey Bruce. Anyway, with that being said, let's dig into today's episode, which is going to be about Chinese interference. This has been in the news cycle in the last couple of weeks, and in case you've missed it or have missed something, I will fill you in on a little bit of stuff, hopefully that maybe you don't know about, maybe you do, maybe you want a little bit of clarification, or maybe you just want to listen to what's going on with the Chinese interference, election interference. Okay, so like I said in this podcast, I'm going to be talking about the Chinese interference in the last couple of week cycles. So it started several weeks ago when the story broke out in the newspapers about the Chinese interference in our elections in Canada in favor of the Liberals, of course, the Liberals being our Democrats here in Canada. CSIS, which is the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, they had a whistleblower come forward to break this story wide open. So he broke the lid off of this story. And instead of Trudeau wanting to get to the bottom of the actual story itself, and if in fact China was interfering with our last two cycles of elections, what did he want to do? Well, he wanted to find out who this leaker was. Like, why would he want to do that? Why would he want to find out who the leaker was? Like, a good, honest Canadian citizens wanting to stand up to do what is right, and he's wanting to find out, well, who's this leaker? Who leaked this information to the press and to the world, basically? It's just kind of a warped way of looking at things, but that's just my stand on it. He should be having the best interest of Canadians at heart, as far as I'm concerned. He always says it in the House of Commons. He always looks out for our best interest. He should be looking out to find out, in fact, if this is true and there was election interference. But, of course, he's a Liberal, and it'd be in his favor. So you kind of say, why would he want to know exactly all the information and find out the truth? So anyway, listen to the House floor. This is our House of Commons, where Pierre Poilievre is talking and asking questions about election interference. So have a listen to this video.
Prime Minister said repeatedly that he had no knowledge of funds from the dictatorship in Beijing going to federal election candidates. Today we learned that is not true. His department prepared a briefing that said a large clandestine transfer of funds earmarked for the federal election from the PRC in Toronto was transferred to an elected provincial government official via a staff member of a 2019 federal candidate. Why did the Prime Minister say the opposite of what he knew to be true?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Speaker, the issue of foreign interference in our democracies and our institutions is extraordinarily serious, and that's why, as a government, we have always taken it incredibly seriously, including by building and creating new mechanisms to oversee and to ensure that we can counter that interference and demonstrate to Canadians that they can have confidence in their institutions. But on the specific question, as both myself and the NSIA stated last fall, we have no information on any federal candidates receiving money from China, and that continues to remain the case.
Hear, hear.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, that is impossible, because not only did his own department prepare a briefing for him, which said that candidates had received funds, so did his own security committee, which said, and I'm quoting now from Global News, Global News also learned of an earlier high-level warning about clandestine funding of China's preferred candidates that came from a bipartisan panel of parliamentarians 2 months before the 2019 election. That so-called bipartisan panel is the Prime Minister's secret committee. They report to him. He knew. Why did he say the opposite of what he knew?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
As I said last fall, as the National Security and Intelligence Advisor stated, we have no information on federal candidates receiving money from China. That continues to be the case. In regards to the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to correct the honourable member and highlight that committee actually publishes reports to Parliament and to the public. That is something that is very, very clear. It's a committee of parliamentarians that get top secret clearance so they can look at everything our intelligence committees do and then report back to our Parliament.
Hear, hear.
Well, Leader of the Opposition.
Well, the Prime Minister stated another falsehood. He said it reports to public. Many of its findings are not reported to public. And second, Section 21 of the Act that creates that committee states that its reports go to the Prime Minister. They have to go to the Prime Minister. And he is the one that decides what becomes public thereafter. Therefore, he knew when that committee reported that candidates received money directed by the dictatorship in Beijing, and yet he has been and continues to say exactly the opposite. Why?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, parliamentarians can now go to the Library of Parliament or go online and see reports from the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians that were released publicly to them. The National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, which the previous Conservative government opposed as an oversight body, actually allows parliamentarians to attain those top secret clearance levels to look into everything our intelligence agencies do and report back to Parliament, to me, to Canadians on how that's working.
Hear, hear.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Section 21 of the Act that creates that secret committee says, and I quote, each year the committee must submit to the Prime Minister a report of the reviews it conducted during the preceding years. In other words, he did receive the report. He should stop playing word games. Nobody needs to go to the library. What we need to do is get to the truth. The Prime Minister knew that his own security committee said Beijing had directed funds to candidates in preceding elections, and yet he continues to say exactly the opposite. Is he saying that the committee is lying?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to clear up the confusion around what the committee reports. Yes, the committee reports to me and to the government, but it also reports to parliamentarians and shares those reports. So this is the way many committees function in our government, and will continue to. In regards to the issue of whether federal candidates received money from China, as I've stated many times, we have no information on that.
Leader of the Opposition.
We all agree that the Prime Minister has seen the report. Well, this is what Global News says of the report. Global News has learned of an earlier high-level warning about clandestine funding of China's preferred candidates that came from a bipartisan panel of parliamentarians 2 months before the 2019 election. China gave money to its preferred candidates. The Prime Minister admits that the committee reported to him on this fact. Why does he continue to state the diametric opposite of the truth in his answers in this House of Commons.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think we all understand how important it is that Canadians can have both confidence in our government's ability to counter foreign interference and confidence in the transparency and openness with which that happens. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, beyond the partisan to and fro that we necessarily see in this House, it is important to create an independent, unimpeachable special rapporteur who is going to be able to oversee the entire landscape around national security to make sure that the committees are doing their work, that the various bodies keep Canada safe.
Wow. Does the Prime Minister, does he know how to whip up some word salad or what? Like, he is just, he's done it for so long and he's so good at it that he never answers a question. He literally never answers a question. Questions are asked of him all the time in our House, and he never seems to answer the question. Simple yes or no questions. All he has to do is give him information, but it's like all he's missing is a mariachi band in the back, really, you know? He's doing a song and dance every time. It's quite hilarious. So now he's going to be getting a special rapporteur, is what he's calling it. This guy's going to be the judge of what's going on in this case. So basically now you know the basics of what's going on in our country with this election, with the China interference. Sounds kind of familiar, like with our brothers and sisters to the States, right? Here it's China, and down there for the last several years it was Russia, 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 right? So it's kind of a common theme here in North America. So anyway, that's what's going on here in Canada. So anyway, here's another video of Pierre Poilievre asking Justin Trudeau about the China interference once again, and he just wants to get him to answer a few questions. So here's Pierre Poilievre asking Trudeau again in our House of Commons. Have a look at this.
The Prime Minister, he still won't answer the question. The question was specifically about whether intelligence, law enforcement, or public servants briefed him or in any way informed him of any interference in any of our elections.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, back in 2019, we established a professional, a nonpartisan, independent group of top civil servants and intelligence officials to ensure that the integrity of our elections would not be compromised. They watched and reported in the 2019 election, they watched and reported for the 2021 election, and in both cases confirmed that the integrity of our elections was not compromised.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question was not whether the election was compromised. The question was whether officials in intelligence, law enforcement, or the public service at any time informed the Prime Minister of allegations of any interference in our elections. Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite brought in the element of allegations of interference. I can confirm, based on the news reports that a number of people have been remarking on for the past number of weeks, that I have never gotten any information from any of our security agencies or police officers or intelligence officials or public servants on any information on anyone receiving, as a federal candidate, receiving money from China, as the allegations highlighted.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question wasn't whether or not he heard allegations of money going to a candidate from China. Obviously, money doesn't travel on a big ship from the other side of the Pacific and then go to the shore and then be delivered to a candidate. That is obviously a denial of an absurdity. The question is whether or not the Prime Minister ever got information from the public service, the police, or intelligence bodies on any interference of any kind by Beijing in our elections?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I got a report back from our panel that was established, the experts established in the national security agencies to report back on whether or not our elections were subject to foreign interference, and they confirmed that the elections were held in full integrity. The outcome was not impacted, that Canadians can have full confidence in the integrity of our elections in 2019 and 2021.
L'honorable député de Belleuil-Chambly.
Whoa! There's some more word salad. All you're missing is a little bit of salad dressing there, you know? Like he's just steady not answering any questions, right? So it's just one more video Pierre Poilievre asking Trudeau in the House, of course, about interference, and he's just giving him more word salad. Anyway, it's hard to believe that he can't answer, like I said, again, a simple question. Just give a simple answer to a simple question and then get on with it and find out what was in fact going on. But he can't seem to do that. Anyway, once again, listen to this video. It's Pierre Poilievre asking some questions, and then Trudeau, of course, he gets a little bit dramatic about it. So check this out.
If any parties, leadership campaigns, electoral district associations, that is to say, parties and their local arms, received money directed by Beijing. Now, he used a very tiny technical term called candidate, which only applies to a limited scenario 30 days before an election. He refuses to answer about whether his party or any other received money directed by the communist dictatorship in Beijing. That we can assume that the answer, therefore, is yes. How much did his party and other parts of his party get from the communist dictatorship?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, on matters of national security, it's extremely important that we continue to give Canadians confidence that our experts and our officials are doing their job, but it's also important to protect the women and men who serve in our security agencies doing extremely dangerous work to keep Canadians safe. That's why we've created a committee where all parliamentarians from different parties can get top secrets clearance and look into these matters deeply without compromising the safety of people who serve this country.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He's not interested in protecting the safety of the people serving this country. He's interested in protecting the Liberal Party of Canada. The question was how much his party got in illegal donations funneled from Beijing. I've asked the question twice now. He refuses to answer it. He distracts and now claims that he can't tell it because it would harm national security. Give me a break. It would harm his political career. Why doesn't he tell us how much the Liberal Party or its various arms received in money from Beijing? How much?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate and despicable that any member in this House would question the loyalty to Canada of any other member in this House. I understand the very real concerns that Canadians feel about foreign interference, and that's why we've created mechanisms to keep Canadians safe. But to suggest that anyone in this House isn't devoted to serving Canadians and keeping those who serve Canada in dangerous positions safe is quite disgusting.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, no drama lesson will distract from the question that I asked. The question was very clear. How much did the Liberal Party get in donations directed from Beijing? I've asked it multiple times. I find it incredible that he can't stand up and answer with a zero. Totally. I mean, if he knows for sure it didn't happen, he's not been briefed to the contrary, he would say so right now. Yeah. But he's dodging the question. He's trying to engage in a dramatic distraction. So I will give him one more chance. Answer the question. how much money did his party get from the dictatorship in Beijing? How much?
Honorable Prime Minister.
Speaker, I see the Leader of the Opposition trying to backtrack from his heinous and disgusting accusations of disloyalty to Canada of anyone in this House. And I'm pleased to see him back off from what was an absolutely despicable partisan approach.
Wow, so this rapporteur, this so-called rapporteur, who is this rapporteur, you ask? Who is this fella that Trudeau himself appointed to investigate all of this? Well, who is the special judge to look after this election interference in China? Well, his name is David Johnston. David Johnston, he's a family friend. He has been a family friend for decades. And he was a friend of Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Justin's dad. And, of course, he had a cottage right next to the Trudeaus for decades. Johnston's kids grew up with Justin Trudeau. When they were younger, they grew up and they played at the beach, played at the cottage. And Johnston was also on the board, the Trudeau Foundation board. You just can't make this shit up, folks. You just can't make it up. Now, does any reasonable thinking human being honestly believe that it's okay for this guy to be in charge of something that's so important of this country and having election tampering? Like, just be honest with yourself, kind of go over some scenarios in your head and figure out, do you think this is actually okay? Because David Johnston, he used to be the Governor General of Canada, and people always talk about his integrity. And, well, if he wants to show the world, in my belief, what he's really like in his integrity, he'd step down. He'd step down immediately and appoint someone else in his place to investigate China's interference. Not sure if everything that I said is true. You don't think that all the stuff that I've said about the cottage and about him being a family friend is true? Listen to this news anchor and what he says about David Johnston. Check this out.
Look, I have a problem with David Johnston doing this job. And let's all accept, we all know him as a man of great integrity. Let's put that on the shelf. But let's look at the case if a judge was sitting in a trial dealing with, and Justin Trudeau was the defender. He's a very close friend of the Trudeau family, has been for decades. They had adjacent cottage, the kids played together, he knew them very, very well. In 2018, he became a member of the Trudeau Foundation, which just recently had to repay back $140,000 to a Chinese billionaire because it was part of a Chinese influence operation against Mr. Trudeau. And he got $20 million for the Rideau Hall Foundation from the Trudeau government, and the foundation is headed, the directors are Mr. Johnston is the chair, but he's also like John Manley and Mark Carney and former Premier Dalton McGuinty are on it, all Liberals. I think a judge would say, oh, sorry, you know, I have to abscond myself. I can't sit on this case because I know the Trudeau family too well. And in this particular...
So this guy, in my opinion, should not be judging this case. It's just plain and simple. It's just that simple because perception is everything. So for this government, once again, Trudeau and his Liberals, they don't seem to mind or care. They're going to put someone in, and then all the citizens of this country are like, oh, that's okay. That's all right. We know he's a good friend. Oh, you stood up in your wedding? No, you didn't stand up in his wedding. I'm just kidding. But this is what you're at. You're at the point where somebody is judging what's going on for election interference by another country who is literally a family friend. He's basically calls him, Uncle Dave. I mean, it's ridiculous. So having David Johnston in charge of this oversight, do you honestly believe that this is in the best interest of Canadians or the best interest of the Liberal Party like Pierre Poilievre suggested? And then Trudeau, he went into this dramatic rant when Pierre asked him about the rapporteur. He goes in this big dramatic rant over it. Well, rightfully so. Pierre Poilievre asking those questions, he's right on the mark, and he should ask those questions. But for Trudeau to get offside about it, just answer the question that he's asking. That's all. So the other day, the Liberals, they filibustered for almost 24 hours because they want to take a vote on whether or not they should put Trudeau's chief of staff, her name's Katie Telford, on the witness stand so they can ask her what she knew about the election interference. So this is Katie Telford. And there's an old saying that I've always said, and everyone's always heard it, right? If you have nothing to hide, hide nothing. It's really that simple, right? You have nothing to hide nothing. Seems that Liberals in the House not only don't want her to answer questions, but they don't want Trudeau's the chief of staff, or themselves to answer any questions about election interference. Once again, you kind of ask yourself why. But listen to Michael Cooper. He's a member of Parliament. He's from Edmonton, and he's a Conservative, but he's on this committee, and they're trying to get a vote while they're doing filibustering. So this is them the other day. Have a listen.
I just want to observe that it being 1:05, it's been now more than 14 hours over 4 days that the Liberal MPs on this committee have been filibustering, drowning on for hours and hours and hours on a very simple motion to have the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, testify before this committee on Beijing's interference. It really begs the question, what does this Prime Minister have to hide? How much longer are you guys across the way going to continue this? Let's get it to a vote. Thank you.
So once again, if the Liberals have nothing to hide, hide nothing. But they don't look at it that way. That filibustering in that committee went on for over 24 hours the other day. Just because they do not want Katie Telford to testify. Why? Simple question. Why? Makes your mind start to wander. Like, it's simple. Get her up there. She can tell what she wants. Be transparent is what Trudeau always says he wants to tell the Canadian people. The citizens of this country, being transparent. Just get her up there and tell the truth. It's really simple, right? Obviously, with the Liberals, it's not. That's why they keep talking about, they don't want to take a vote on it. So, anyway, so today is March 21st. First day of spring, I believe. Yeah. Anyway, so our House, I believe they're taking a vote today on the floor about whether or not Katie Telford should be subpoenaed to testify or not about the election interference, of course, from China. Now, the NDP and their leader, Jagmeet Singh, he has an opportunity basically to show the Canadian people what side he sits on. Does he sit on the side of his boss, the Liberals, or is he going to stick with the side of the Canadian people, who's his actual boss? So these people are the actual people, of course, that voted him into power. So the citizens are his boss, but he pretends that he acts like Trudeau's his boss. So I say, time's up, Jagmeet. This politician has the opportunity to stand up against what's going on that's wrong and stand up and be heard. The people of his riding should be paying attention, because if he doesn't do what's right for the citizens of this country, then that speaks volumes. So it's time for him maybe to step down. And the next time he's up for election, the people of his riding, they should just vote him out. That's the best way to get these people fired. Get them gone. Don't vote for them, because they're going to keep continually to do the same thing. When the NDP basically got on the same side with the Liberals last year and cut a deal with them, they gave the Liberals the majority. The Canadian citizens didn't want the Liberals to have the majority. They voted them as a minority, not a majority. But with Jagmeet Singh getting in bed with the Liberals, that's basically what has transpired last year and to the present day. So let's hope the Canadian citizens get a clear understanding of what went on with these last two elections with this Chinese interference, and did it in fact happen, or did it not? It's really simple. That's all we want to know. We just want to know if in fact this stuff transpired or if it didn't. I don't know what all the carrying on in the house is all about. All the song and dancing is going on about. I have no idea why it's going on that way in the house, unless they have something to hide. And like I said, if you have something to hide, then you're going to do all this. If you have nothing to hide, be transparent, be open, and let the cards fall where they fall. Let the citizens of this country know if, in fact, the Liberals were helped into government for the last 2 elections by Chinese interference. It's that simple. And hey, if they didn't do it, fine. Then let us know that as well. Then we can just put it to bed and go, no, this is a nothing burger. Let's carry on. Nothing to see here. But when they do all these smoke and mirrors in behind this scene stuff, it makes people kind of think that there's something underhanded going on, right? So anyway, hey, listen, keep your eye on what's going on in the political arena. It's pretty important, and because, everything that happens in this world is either political or economical. That's just the way this world works. And if you keep your eye on these politicians and what they're doing, they have to have your best interest at heart. And are they making your life better? And if they're not making your life better and they're making it worse, get a hold of your MP, get a hold of your MPP, get a hold of your senators, because when those bills go through the House, the senators have to okay them or not. Get into it, get involved, and that's how you give yourself a bit of peace of mind as well. Give yourself a little peace of mind, and hopefully things will change with enough people, because the people have the power, not the government. The people. We're the ones that hire them, and we're the ones that fire them. It's really that simple. Anyway, listen, thank you very much for listening to my podcast. It's much appreciated. I can be found, of course, on Rumble and, of course, on my YouTube channel here. And I can be found on any iPhone or a Samsung device using a podcast app. You just type in the Surge Effect, and you'll find me real quick. You'll see my TSA, the Surge Effect, and that's how fast you'll find me. Anyway, please don't forget to subscribe and like my channel. It's much appreciated once again, because it moves up the algorithm for YouTube. And that's how that works. It's just one of those things. That's how YouTube controls everything once again. Anyway, like I said, I can be found on Rumble and all the podcast apps for Apple and Android. And just keep on listening to me. I much appreciate it. And until next time, everyone, have a great day. Cheers. This episode sponsored by He Shirts, She Shirts. Go to www.heshirtsseshirts.ca. Just type in the letters TSA, the Surge Effect. When you check out, type in TSA for your coupon and receive 10% off your next purchase. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, everybody.